Hello and welcome back to Cisco Knowledge Base. This is Zach from Content Security Team. Today we'll cover a new topic, and that is how to deploy a Cisco hybrid web appliance, and that's the async OS functionality that will be added with the version 9.2.0 build 51 and above. This is for physical and virtual appliances. So what we have done is we have broke down this in three simple parts. Part one would be to link where it's going to be staged to download for virtual appliances, and for physical it's going to be provisioning device. Then where the documentation is going to reside. Part two will talk about run through the system setup wizard, do a registration on the cloud management portal, that is the scancenter.scansave.com. Then verify the policy sync up between the cloud management portal and the web appliance, hybrid web appliance. There's a new log is added, hybrid D log. This is the one we will be looking at it at the live activity. Then we'll just do some simple test. And a step 3, or part 3 rather, we walk through the web appliance deployment and registration process. Once that is complete, the registration phase is complete, then we'll explore Cisco hybrid web appliance through the new GUI walkthrough, because that has changed after deployment in the hybrid web appliance mode. It will have some functionality being added and some of them are removed. These are the steps to register. Once you register, we can look at it under GUI, reporting, system status. It should display as a registered with the date was registered. Some of the caveats, then we will touch base, what is currently supported and not supported with phase 1, and what will be coming down with the future phase. As we see, the upstream proxy and SOCKS and FTP proxy will not be supported with this phase. Registration process also can be kicked off from the web policy connectivity under support and help. And the policy sync up happens every 120 seconds, about 2 minutes. Hybrid log sample, it shows the connectivity between hybrid web appliance and then cloud management portal, and the policy when he commits to the appliance, etc. The other part is the access log, and when we do modification, the resync process occurs again. These are the example access log as we see here, and that hasn't changed. It's basically the time, the IP address, URL, the destination, cloud ID, and policy. In sample here I have is the hybrid ID 1, and then it's going to the default policy. Currently on this demo will not have the authentication, will come in the next one. And some other log detail for HTTPS access. What would it look like if the authentication is enabled? That's the NTLM realm and the username. Supported model initially S00V for proof of concept, and for the demo purpose S100V and S300V would be for productions deployment. Additional review logs that I have added here. In the event if due registration you get 400 bad requests, that will require to redo the registration for whatever reason if we see this in the field. And there are a couple of other errors that we'll talk about, and some of the policy when he downloads, these are the policy on the portal. Scan Center will check that as well. So with that, go on top. So these two documentation link, I think I have it here. Let's cancel out of here. So the first link is, let's see here. The first link here is to download where the permanent virtual appliance will reside once it's available. It will be under 9.2. And the second link is the documentation page, which is here. And that's where the 9.2 user guide, release notes, etc. will reside. So with that, first thing is to run a setup wizard to deploy in the hybrid mode. And we'll log into Appliance. So system setup wizard. Okay, perfect. Then basically fill out some basic information. I called it just virtual WSA2.com, DNS information. Here is the most important part where it says standard versus cloud and a web hybrid. So what we're going to choose here is a web hybrid. Okay, maybe it's too bright. So with the web hybrid is the new option that has been added into this build, which is 9.2.0.051 build. And we hit next. Okay, and these screens are familiar, I'm assuming, because this part has not changed. So we'll leave it to the default, and we'll do next. Default gateway, if we need to be changed or modified, continue on with next. We can still leave it the layer 4 switch, and that's where WCCP will be configured. So we'll add the password. And for the event, for the alerts, leave the our email address here. Then hit next. And malware, spyware scanning, let's take the default here. So this is also a new functionality since this is going to be a push model upgrades. So initially when you run a setup wizard, it will give you two options. So first one you pick, let's say Monday, 12 a.m. Then there's going to be, as you see it here, minimum 1 hour duration and maximum of 3 days between. So automatically, when you pick a second window, it's going to jump from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday. So 3 days automatically takes it. So other thing to note, administrator can modify these. So initially, when you run a setup wizard, it gives you only 2 windows. But once the setup is completed, I can go ahead and add as many line in here according to my change control policy within the company. Then we'll hit next. This is a summary window again, and that's where it gives you a chance you can edit it, modify any of the config parameters. If everything looks good, we can hit install this configuration. While this is coming up, come back here. So what we have done is basically ran through this setup. The registration will come next, and at the same time I do have a logs that should be. So we'll tail a couple of logs as soon as this comes up. Make it a little bit more readable here. Okay. So first one, we'll look at the hybrid log. And this is a hybrid log, as we said, number 16, hybrid D log. And we'll tail that log to see what's the activity it's trying to do at the moment. So system is coming up and waiting for configuration update. And here we'll look at some of the access log. so we'll be ready. This is some of the traffic that I have been testing, so maybe the old one. So we'll go back to our GUI here. So this gives you an option to log back in once it installs. Okay, so that's where the registration part is going to ask here. So verify the policy. Before that is registration. So once you hit register, it's going to look for a particular authorization key, and that is obtained from the scan center. And these are the steps in part 3 here. So it's kind of going together. And so if I jump on my scan center, so I'm still logged in here. I'll go under admin. Okay, logged out. So once we log back into the Scan Center portal, the steps are essentially click on the admin tab, choose the management, hybrid web security, generate a token, and we're going to take that token and paste it back into Web Security Appliance GUI. So we'll follow these steps. We set admin, management, hybrid web security. That's where it said generate token, and just copy to the clipboard. We'll take that. Actually, it's over here. And just to make sure, ending with 35841, 35841, we say register. And at that moment, we want to look at the hybrid D log to see what is going on as far as the communication between hybrid web appliance and the Scan Center portal. So as we see it here, there's a lot of communication. It says do nothing, then config update, attempting to initial registration, and this is the portal that is currently on the demo side of it. And then once it's successfully registered, then the screen on the hybrid web appliance will show that, okay, I'm ready to use now. Under reporting system, and you do system status. Okay, while this comes back. So going back here, so what we have done so far, we look at the documentation, we ran the setup wizard, we looked at the hybrid D log, we also ran through the setup registration process on the Scan Center portal, cloud management, and that's what we're trying to pull here. What does this show in the system status? And it's thinking. While it's coming up, let's look at some of the caveats. So a couple of things to mention here, as I said earlier. Upstream proxy, SOCKS, FTP currently is not supported with the hybrid web appliance, especially for phase 1. Reporting will be through the Splunk application, not on the portal, or not the local reporting on the web appliance. To re-register, we can go under support and help and web policy connectivity, and that will allow us to repaste the token. And as far as the token goes, we can generate here, that could be generated. There is a valid window that we need to apply on. I believe it's within 60 minutes, but I have to look some of the documentation. But it's pretty good time as far as the registration process to be completed within that window. And in the event if it does get expired, it will notify in the hybrid D log and also you can just generate another token by clicking generate token again, and it just refreshes it for another token. Okay, let's take a look. So registration, the other registration process that I was saying is it's right here, support and help, and web policy connectivity. Even though if you register and for whatever reason appliance got unregistered or had a hiccup, we don't need to run a setup wizard all over again. We can go under support and help, web policy, and that will bring to the same screen, so we can go back in and re-enter a new authorization code, and we can generate these as needed. So going back to here, it shows under cloud policy communication, service status is registered, and is registered displays the date. There's no software upgrade completed on this appliance, and that's data is there. This is your virtual appliance demo model and the other detail as well. So walking through the GUI, if you notice, compared to proxy mode, some of the options are just not there, similar to what Cloud Connector is today. With the Web Security Manager, we have identity profiles, but if you notice, there's no policy creation. All the policy get created on Scan Center portal. And just to keep in sync, the policies are here. Okay, take a little bit longer. Okay, we timed out for some reason. So this is the main dashboard and web policy. So that's where you create these policy. By default, when you log in with your account, as you see here, this is my test company account under my name. So we'll display the given company's name and then email address, etc. Once you log in, by default, you will have a default policy set to allow. And that's the only policy you will see. The other policy, these are I've created using NTLM group policy match, and for that one we'll do another knowledge base to make sure we can cover how you can sync up policies, group-based policy from local AD realm that WSA will join, and all the policy will reside on the Scan Center portal. So again, we'll do another knowledge base to cover group policy based authentication. This is just a simple deployment and basic walkthrough. So with that identification profile, we can create that. Security services will give you some of the options. But as we notice, by looking at the proxy port that is listing by default, 80 and 3128, all the connect ports are there as well. HTTP proxy can also be enabled here, and user notification, etc. This will be documented in the user guide as well. Under network, most of the option is there on the cloud web appliance, especially with the DNS, certificate management, and authentication. So authentication for we can add a realm, which is AD realm locally here. Once I create the AD realm here, all the groups that reside in this AD, I can push it through the cloud and then sync it with the WSA, sync with the hybrid web appliance. So that's the idea. The management is all going to be on the Scan Center. None of the policy will reside on the local hybrid appliance. You'll be all sitting at the Scan Center and managing through the cloud web security portal. So with that, let's take a look real quick. So I've seen some of these messages. If you when you first register, also when you have a user's policy or commit and download it successfully, it will say committing and generating policy data. Generated policy data. Wait till you want to see policy data committed. So if we don't see in the hybrid D-log that policy data is committed, it means we have not downloaded or synced the policy. So by the default, as I said before, the default timer for policy to sync up is 120 seconds, it's about 2 minutes. And the other thing to call out here is the appliance update and upgrade server will remains the same for virtual appliances. Update.manifest.sco.cisco.com. That also will be documented in the user guide as well. So these are the access log. Once you test through it, basically in my environment I had from explicit testing, pointing simply my browser to web security appliance IP address, and all the logs are especially the same as we had before. The only thing you'll see different, the policy will be coming down is from the portal, the default policy. This is for HTTP, HTTPS. This will look like with authentication. This is the AD realm administrator. But as I said before, we'll do another extensive group policy-based video knowledge. So this way we'll have all the pieces together. These are the model initially was supported for production. Definitely need to use S100V and S300V. S00V it's only for demo. And again, 400 bad requests we'll see a time when the registration fails. So let's take a quick look on our hybrid D. So this process, and this is good. So what this happened here is just now. This is the error message you will see in the event on the code stat. This is the build 51, and I believe this would be addressed. But this condition occurs when I have a signature updates. It's trying to update at the same time my hybrid D is trying to sync up with the scan center. So they coincided or collide these processes in between. So that issue has been addressed and is being fixed with the beta and an FCS releases as well. So hybrid D log, this is the access log. I believe, let me just make sure here. We'll log into our test client really quick. And I believe I have pointing him already to this proxy 248. Yeah. And that's where we're seeing some of the detail coming up here. So as you see currently, since this is just the default policy is hitting and do not have authentication enabled, there's no AD realm configured, but all the access log piece is pretty much straight the same, which has not changed. We can also add %m in the access log to see how authentication will come, and then either it's a basic, NTLM, Kerberos, etc. Again, another look of the hybrid D log. This is a continuous chatter. If you tail it, and there are times that you may want to do in the debug level, which is the level 5 trace for the log config edit and level 5. That allow you to look at more data in the event if we have to, which is edit, and this is number 16. And that can be to 5, and this way it provides a lot more data But again, for troubleshooting, it's okay. But it's also important to note that once you're done troubleshooting, make sure this is switch it back to 3. Otherwise, it takes a lot of resources. Okay. Alright, so while this is happening, let's just do a quick review. So again, this new functionality for the Cisco Hybrid Web Appliance through the Cloud Management Portal solution, that is introduced with the Async OS 9.2.0 build 051, and it will be staged once it's available over here where all the virtual appliances are. For physical appliance, it will be provision based, and all the user guide will reside here as a permanent home, which we have for all the other data today. This is a end user guides place. We ran through the setup wizard. We ran through the registration process. We viewed the hybrid D log. We looked at some of the access log for the new deploy machine. Also for registration, we kind of looked through the GUI, walked through it, and how does it look if it's successfully registered in the GUI on the hybrid web appliance. Some of the caveats with the Cisco hybrid web appliance: what are the functionality currently is not supported with the phase 1, update server, how often it updates the policy download between hybrid web appliance and the Scan Center portal, cloud management portal. Some of the sample access log, HTTP, HTTPS, the model supported, and some log. So before we end here, so since we changed that to level 5, we see a lot more data that register in the hybrid D log here. And also, so in the system administration folder under upgrade and update setting, so by default, these are the 2 upgrade window timing that we have. As I mentioned earlier, initially when you deploy hybrid web appliance, it will give you the 2 options or 2 windows during the setup wizard, so you can have those 2 windows. But later on, as the administrator, I can go and add as many windows I would. If it's a mission critical environment, I want to make sure the business being taken care of as far as the user's downtime goes. And these notification here can also be notified through the hybrid D. And if you look at the hybrid D log, it will also checking the clock against it, and it tells you that if this is it's out of the update and upgrade window. Let's take a look at here. Upgrade. Okay, so because I gave them midnight Mondays, and it looks at the appliance clock and looks at it and it says currently not in any update window, upgrade window rather. So these are also an indication when you are looking at the hybrid D log. This is could be pretty useful as well. Okay, so we'll cancel out of here. And go back to our documentation. So this covers and concludes this topic. Thank you so much for watching this, and we appreciate your time. And we'll look forward to seeing you in another video knowledge base. And again, we'll do another extensive video knowledge base to walk through this step by step and configure how to do group-based authentication through this Scan Center cloud portal. With that, thank you so much. Have a good day, have a good afternoon, and have a good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.